.NET 6 was launched last month, and within that there were a number of updates to Entity Framework Core. In this video, we'll have a look at EF Core 6 new updates. We'll take a look at migration bundles, temporal table support, and pre-convention model configuration. Now for more ASP.NET Core tutorials, visit roundthecode.com, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/roundthecode, and follow us on LinkedIn at roundthecode.com/LinkedIn. So we're going to first have a look at migrations bundle. So I've got an ASP.NET Core application open in front of us here. Got a couple of entities in here. We've got a player and a team, so we've got some properties within that. And we've also got a DB context. Now what we're going to do first is we're going to go to Tools, and we're going to go to NuGet Package Manager and Package Manager Console. And we're going to add a migration for this player and teams for our DB context. So we're going to set the add migration and call it initial. So that's going to generate a migration script for us. As we can see here, we've got our teams there and our players. Now what we can do with Entity Framework Core 6 is we can go ahead and actually create an executable. And this is handy for things like DevOps. We can actually run the executable to update our database rather than run a PowerShell script. So the way we can do that is within the Package Manager console again, we can go to bundle, we can call bundle migration. Now what we're going to see here though, unfortunately, is we're going to get an error. So it's going to go through the migration bundles, but unfortunately we are going to see an error once it's finished building. So you can see there we've got a build failed. We can use this verbose parameter to actually see the errors. So we're going to go ahead and do that and see what's going on. So we're going to run that with the verbose parameter. So we can see it's trying to build, and now we're getting a could not copy the DLL file. So it's trying it 10 times, and as we can see, it's not succeeding. It's coming up with build failed. So we've tried to run that in Package Manager console and it's not working. So let's go ahead and try it in PowerShell. We're going to use the .NET command line, and what we're going to do is we're going to run the following. So we're going to run .NET EF migrations bundle. And we're also going to pass in the verbose parameter. We want to see what exactly happens, whether we get the same issue or not. You can see it's trying it a couple of times and it's coming up with the same issue. So the process cannot access the file, which is the DLL file. And it's trying that a few times, but it's not succeeding by the looks of it. As you can see, build failed. Once again, we've used the verbose parameter, which we've already done. One way I managed to get around fixing this is to actually add the configuration parameter. Now, if I use debug or release, I still seem to get the same issue. But if I put anything else other than that in, so I'm going to put ABC, it seems to go ahead and actually do it for us. And I'll show you that in a bit. Going ahead, just building it. Now it's built up the executable file. And there you go. It's actually managed to create our migration bundle. You can see in here, it's created the efbundle.exe. What this is going to do now is it's going to go ahead and update the database. So rather than running the update database PowerShell script, we can go ahead and just run this executable. We're going to go ahead and do that. That's done that. Let's have a look at our database now and see if it's actually updated. So we've got this round the code, EF core, got our tables in here, it's got our players and our teams. So that's migrations bundle. The next thing we're going to have a look at is temporal tables. Now temporal tables allows you to keep a full history of data, login data within a SQL Server table. It was introduced in SQL Server 2016, and with EF Core 6 it's now included support for that. So the way we can do that is if we come out of here and we go into our DB context, what we can do here is we can go ahead and override the onModel creating method, pass in the model builder. So in that we got our player table. We use the toTable method, and then we just set in there that it's a temporal table like that. And do the same thing for team as well. Now that we do that, we need to add a migration because we've now set the tables as temporal. We need to tell we need to sync it up with our database. So we're going to add migration, and we're going to call it Temporal. And this is going to generate our migration script, which we're going to run up to SQL Server. You can see here it's done it with the team, set it as Temporal, and it's done it with the players as well. Let's go ahead now and update the database. We're not going to use migrations bundle for this. We're just going to call the update database command. There we go. You see that's now updated our database. And if we go back into our database in SQL Server Management Studio, we can see now that these are now set as system versions. So they're now temporal tables. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run some data in Entity Framework and show you how you can actually use the temporal command when using an Entity Framework query. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a team controller, and I've already written the code, so I'm just going to copy that over and create a new folder called controllers, and we're going to set the team controller as the name of the controller. I'm going to go ahead and copy all that, paste that all in. So what we're doing here is with this create sample method, created a new team, and we've added some players to that particular team. With the update, what we're going to do is we're going to change the team name. So the team name up here when we create it is Brighton, but when we go down here, we're going to change the name to Brighton and Hove Albion. And then with this get-sample method, we're going to go ahead, call this temporal all method where the ID equals 1, which will be the team of Brighton. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to run the API for us. We're now going to load it up. So there we go. We're going to go ahead, create our team of Brighton and the players within it. So that's returned a 200 response. We're now going to update the team name from Brighton to Brighton and Hove Albion using our update sample method. That's gone ahead and created a 200. Now we're going to go ahead and use our Entity Framework query using the temporal all method to see the difference between the two. So as you can see here, we've got a history of all the changes we've got. It was initially Brighton, and now it's Brighton and Hove Albion, like that. We're now going to have a look at pre-convention model configuration, and familiar users to Entity Framework Core and using code first would know that if you set a string, quite often it will come up with an mvar max when we sync it up to the database schema. With EF Core 6 though, we can go ahead and we can use pre-convention model configurations, and this is where we can set a configuration which is the default. We can overwrite it for specific properties, but we can also set up a convention as well. So the way we go about and do that is we go ahead and we override the method which is configure conventions. We need to pass in the model configuration builder of configuration builder. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to go ahead and say with all the string properties, we're going to set it as Unicode, and we're going to dictate that it has a max length of 300 characters. We go ahead and do that. We now need to add a migration for that because we're just about to set the max length properties. We're going to change them for each of the strings. We go ahead, we run the add migration command, and what we're going to do is we're going to call it conventions as the migration script name. That's gone ahead. As you can see in our migration script, we've got the team name is been changed to 300, and also the surname and the first name of the players. Let's go ahead now and update the database for that. So that's gone ahead and done that. So if we refresh our database, if we go into one of the tables like the teams, we can see now that the first name and surname now has a maximum length of 300 characters. And the same with teams as well. If we have a look at the name, that's now 300 characters. So there's some of the EF Core 6 updates. Migration bundles looks promising, but it's still work in progress. And if you know how to fix the migration bundle command, please get in touch, as it's an issue I've spent hours trying to resolve. Now thanks very much for watching, and hit a like on the video.